Hello everyone and welcome back to another Wizard101 video. Today I was thinking about, what videos I could do, what videos I could make, and I figured that why not follow along the lines of the most popular video I've ever made, how each school does when soloing in Wizard101, and make a best duo combination video. Now, this one is a lot more subjective and a lot less cut and dry. It's not what school is good at soloing, it's what schools are good at doing, which is harder because honestly, there aren't many bad duo combinations. I would say just about every combination is at least viable. Even certain schools paired with themselves are still viable options and aren't that bad. But I figured today I would look overall into some of the better combinations of what schools you should be able to duo for people who want to quest with a friend or maybe even quest by themselves because they're lonely and dual box. Without further ado, enough rambling, let's get into the video. So first off, I want to dedicate an entire section of this video to balance because in a lot of my past videos, balance doesn't get much love. Balance is really not a good school to solo with, and that was definitely illustrated in my soloing video. As I said, balance is without a doubt the worst school to solo in Wizard101. Well, that's not the case here, and in fact, I want to dedicate this whole section to saying balance with just about any other school is a good combination. And definitely the reason for that is that in a soloing experience, balance doesn't get to show off its strengths. Balance's main strength in this game is their ability to support and to support well. Well, when you're soloing, you can't really support yourself. I mean, you can, but not well. In the case of a duo, balance is really solid when it comes to duoing because they can support really well. Balance blade will affect any school, so you're not wanting for putting blades on other people. You have elemental blade, spirit blade, which are really good. You have blade storm, which is really good. Hex, which affects everyone. Really, you just have a lot of spells that are incredibly good at support. You also have heals, so much that balance is good at. I would say the main highlights I would like to highlight here is that balance is really good with hitting schools. So for example, I would say storm, fire, myth, death, which I know someone's gonna complain at me again for saying death isn't a hitting school, but god damn it, it is. I don't care what you say, death is good at hitting. Those four schools, balance is really well paired with and definitely is really good when it comes to supporting things. But is that to say they're bad with life or ice? No, definitely not. In fact, I would say they're really good with those as well. It's just a matter of really balance shines with hitter schools. So I really wanted to dedicate this whole section to balance because balance definitely should get some love in this video. A lot of times, as I've said, balance really gets kind of slept on in this game, but realistically they are really good when it comes to support. So I would say balance, really just a solid duoing school. Another section of this video that I'm going to go over, and this one is less so than balance, but is definitely something that's worth mentioning. Any school and their opposite paired together does tend to work really well. So fire and ice, storm and myth, life and death, all of them work pretty well. I will say that some of them are weaker. Like I'd say storm and myth probably aren't the best combination in the world considering both of them are mainly hitting roles. But I would say a school and its opposite does tend to work decently well. I wouldn't say they're the best options, but they're options that you can choose to go for. Now we're getting into the main portion of this video, some of the best and most consistent duos in this game. So let's start off with the one that's probably the most obvious, and that is life and storm. Life and storm is obviously like bread and butter. They're so good together because storm has massive hits, insane damage, where their main weakness is that they have very little health and defense. Life, on the other hand, while I would say they actually can do quite a bit of damage, they really shine in terms of healing, obviously, their life, and storm having that low health, life is really good to counter that. Life can be used to heal the storm consistently, also support. Lives can be pretty good at support if they try. Really, they're solid in that regard, and they can also have potential to hit as well, so they can switch it up, whereas the storm will be the main dedicated hitter in this duo, and it's just really a solid combo. This is without a doubt one of the best combos in this game, because storm is probably the best school in this game when it comes to hitting, whereas life is best with healing. They just work really well together overall. Next up in and it's definitely worth mentioning this, is fire and life. While I would say life isn't necessarily as needed in this duo as with storm, because fires definitely have more health, they definitely can still be really good for the exact same reasons of fire and storm. Really, fire and life is the same thing, just to a less powerful degree. Life can be used for healing and obviously support, and then fire is a massive hitter as well. So it's just another solid duo. I wouldn't say they're as good as storm and life, but they are still pretty good. Next up, we have ice and a hitting school. So I'm just going to kind of put this in its own another category before I go into the more fun ones. I would say that is pretty good is ice and a hitting school. Similar to life, ice can be extremely good at supporting and actually healing if they decide to use a life mastery and attempt to heal. But I would say ice also has the main benefit of having amazing shields. These shields can be really, really good, especially when it comes to a situation where the hitter may die. And then obviously they can supplement that with heals if they want to. Ice is just overall really good at that, and I would say Ice and Storm is also a pretty good combo that cover each other's bases pretty well, because Ice is obviously a lot more weaker in damage, whereas Storm is a lot more powerful in damage. Ice has the most amount of health, whereas Storm has the least. Ice and Storm pair together really well. I would say Ice can pair well with Fire and Myth as well if they want to, but I would say that Ice and Storm especially is really, really good. Now we're getting into some of the more fun duos. These are what I would consider to be like not actually extremely good. In fact, a lot of them are probably pretty bad in terms of covering each other's bases, but I would say that they're actually pretty fun and can be really stupid sometimes. So for example, in the first one on this list is Storm in itself. This one is really just a meme because it's actually incredibly bad. You're very likely to die with each other, but on the flip side, the rate you can complete fights is probably pretty insane, and I've actually done this before. If you don't know, me and my friend a long time ago, like a year ago plus at this point, got the world record for co-op speed running through Wizard City. Obviously, that's since been broken, but it was fun at the time, and how we did that was with 2 storms because it's just really fun and really like you just do a lot of damage. Obviously, there is a lot of room for failure, but there's a lot of room for success as well. This one is definitely the stupidest one on this list, but I'm not gonna lie to you and say it's not fun. This is probably the one time where I would, say Storm isn't actually that bad. It's like, it's just kind of a fun little, like, if you want to do it, go for it. Next one definitely isn't what I would consider good, as in they don't mesh well with each other, but they can be pretty good, especially late game, and that is Fire and Death. I would say Fire and Death don't really mesh too well together, but what they lack in combination, they more than make up for with the individual talents of the school. This is kind of the power combination, I would say, because a lot of late game bosses have cheats that revolve around one school or the other. For example, Death really is useful for bad juju on a lot of bosses that spam hits that are extremely powerful. Death is super useful for that, and I would say bad juju spamming really, really good late game, whereas Fire can do things like hit a lot of the major bosses. Also, specifically the Trident at the end of Imperia, they're very useful for Heckhound. This is the maximum efficiency, but not meshing well school combination. It's like you can do this if you want to, but is it actually the best combination in the world? Probably not, I would say. It's just, if you want to have a really good end game, you can, but they're probably not the best. Death can support, and I will say that, but are they the best? No. Obviously, at this point, there's other combinations you can do if you want to. Again, as I said at the beginning, none are bad. I'm just pointing out the standouts. The last thing I want to talk about in this video is why you didn't see Death paired with a lot of people here. Because obviously I said Death was the best soloing school in Wizard101, but Death, and you may have noticed in this video, doesn't really pair well with a lot of schools. Now, I will say, Death is always a welcome addition to a team. In fact, I would say Death is really solid, and you can pair it with anyone and have a good time. But are they outstanding combinations? No. The only reason I mentioned Fire and Death was because of the efficiency of them and how useful they are in cheating boss scenarios. But Death itself doesn't actually pair well with a lot of these schools for one reason and one reason alone, is that Death is an incredibly selfish school, I find. While they can support really well with bad juju and feints, any school can do feints, not just Death. Really, the main reason why Death is good at support is really that bad juju and potentially some like dark packs or something like that. But in terms of actual combinations, they're actually not that good. And the reason is that Death's main purpose is their healbacks. And Death having that main purpose of healbacks really doesn't help in a team situation. Now, they can do things like heal, like they do have sacrifice, which is pretty good, but I wouldn't say there's any outstanding combination with Death, because Death really is just that selfish. Like, me and my friend one time did a Death and Storm combo, and yes, it was really fun, and we were perfectly fine, but a lot of it was me laughing at the end of the fight because I had full health because of my heal back, while he as a Storm was basically dying every fight. I found this to be incredibly funny and incredibly like cathartic, almost like watching my friend die constantly. Does that make me a sick person? I don't know. I don't think I'm a sick person. That's up to you. That's up for you to decide. But Death really isn't that good in team situations in a lot of cases because their main purpose, their main strength, the heal back, isn't going to be useful in a team setting. But that's really all I wanted to go over today. Let me know what your favorite school combo is in the comments below. Again, mine would probably be something with balance or something with life. Maybe me as a Death paired with someone else just so I can laugh at them not having full health. That's always fun, but is it a good school combo? Probably not. It's my favorite. Not the best, though. But again, let me know what you think. Do you disagree with me on any of these situations? I'm curious. I want to know. But that's it for today. Thank you all for watching. I will see you in the next video. Adios.